Hello and welcome to our millions of viewers here in Nigeria, the continent and all around the world. This is Lunchtime Politics, where we get to unpack some of the biggest stories in the political landscape right here in the country. I am Kelly Egiga in Lagos, Nigeria. Well, this hour we get to talk the presidential pardon. Well, it has generated and received a lot of outrage and outbursts. Perhaps some will say some praises and commendation as well. We'll get to get some sort of analysis and commentaries on the program this hour. Plus as well, ASU have also officially begun their strike. We'll tell you all about it right here on the program. Well, let's get to tell you that as part of efforts to strengthen governance and improve service delivery at the grassroots, the executive chairman of Obia local government area, Mr. Wole, is urging councillors to live up to the expectations of their constituents. Speaking in Port Harcourt during a 3-day seminar for councillors, he emphasized the importance of effective representation and accountability in deepening democratic governance at the local level. The seminar, with the theme Understanding the Duties and Responsibilities of Councillors for the Sustainability of Democracy, aims to equip newly elected councillors with the knowledge and tools needed to serve their communities effectively.
Inauguration of a new local government administration in Obia, councillors are undergoing an intensive seminar to better understand their roles and responsibilities to their constituents.
It represents the dignity and power of the council to deliberate and pass bylaws. I don't know.
Addressing the participants, Executive Chairman Gift Wole charges the councillors to justify the trust reposed in them by ensuring effective representation and tangible development in their wards.
Since we came into office, we have been doing our best to run the affairs of council as put on our shoulders. But we felt that a day like this was necessary so we can expose ourselves to the relevant laws and procedures for conducting legislative business. We must ensure that the expectations of our people are not cut short.
Over the 3-day training, the legislators were guided on the principles of legislative ethics, community engagement, and responsive governance.
We elected there for business for your ward, very critical business, to bring something back home to your people. Don't create crisis between your people and the chairman that at the end of 3 years, he will not even pay your ward a visit.
At the close of the seminar, the councillors expressed enthusiasm and readiness to collaborate with the chairman in delivering efficient grassroots governance.
We'll ensure that we work in synergy with the chairman in order to deliver this mandate given to us.
We as legislators were not going to have any rifts between the legislative arm and the executive arm because we will work in synergy for the betterment of the good people of Obia.
One of the facilitators, Raymond Nna, commended the participants' zeal to learn, while Chairman Gift Wole reaffirmed his commitment to fostering teamwork for the progress of Obia.
This will equip them in better legislating and having a wonderful working relationship with the executive.
We are also trying to build collaboration and partnership between the two arms of government so that we can work together in line with our campaign slogan that a people united can never be defeated.
Highlights of the event include the presentation of certificates by Gershon's Gates solicitors, the training facilitators, a symbolic step toward a more accountable and people-driven local government. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
All right, so let's get into our first conversation this hour now as we get to discuss this controversy surrounding the presidential pardon as released last week, Thursday, by President Bola Tinubu as well. This was disclosed to the media by his presidential advisor, Bayo Ononuga. It has indeed generated a lot of concerns from all parts of Nigeria. We are joined this hour by a senior advocate of Nigeria and the principal Law Links legal practitioner who joins us live on the program. Thank you indeed, Audu Augustine, for joining us on the program this hour.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Perhaps I should begin by saying that congratulations are absolutely in order for you on your conferment as senior advocate of Nigeria. But let's get straight to it, because a lot of controversies, a lot of outrage, outbursts, and some sort of praises. And I'd like to perhaps begin with some of the reactions that we have seen for our viewers to see, perhaps if our producer can put that up on the screen now. The former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, says that this particular decision, he has called it, quote, a reckless exercise of presidential pardon, and says it will embolden criminality. He also has quoted some sort of data around it. We'll put that up very shortly for our viewers as well. But here what the Human Rights Association of Nigeria also say. They say that this pardon is a dangerous contradiction to the government's professed war against drug abuse. And then we also have a presidential aide, Dr. Joseph Ono, special advisor to the president on policy communication in the Southeast region. He has described this decision as, quote, morally wrong and a rape of justice. So, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Augustine Audu, we see here a case of commendation versus condemnation. I wonder which side of the divide you belong to, sir.
Thank you very much, Kelly. I would like to appreciate you for inviting me to this program. To the question, I would not like to take sides with any side of the divide for now. Every presidential pardon comes with some kind of commendation, especially to the family that are involved and to the immediate people who suffered the loss as a result of the sentence. However, there is need to balance this with some sort of fairness, especially for also the family that were affected by the crime and the damage done to the society by the victims that are being pardoned. So in as much as it comes with some sort of commendation, it also comes with some sort of worry, in the sense that it also poses a danger to the society. It undermines the work of the judiciary, going by what they have done so far. Because if you look at the effort put in, both on the prosecution side, to get a conviction, it is not a small work. And for you to just outturn everything in a day and say, oh, that person has been given presidential pardon, it also comes for concern. However, presidential pardon is a constitutional right. The president has the right to do what he has done, and we appreciate that. And as I said, there are people who are there that deserve the pardon, and there are people who are on that list that don't actually deserve the pardon. So as we move forward, we'll look at the analysis and look at the areas of conviction that I personally believe that they are not supposed to be a presidential pardon for such crime.
Well, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Augustine Audu, perhaps we could begin with some of those that you think that should not be on that list. And I would like us to take a look at this particular data shared by the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar on his official X handle. Look at this data. We have it on our screen for our viewers to see as well. He has quoted data sense here in this particular one. We'll say that this presidential pardon this presidential pardon does have perhaps the breakdown of the offenses. So look at it here for drugs. We see 29.2% of those involved in this pardon. We have 2 unlawful mining we have 24.0% unlawful mining, homicide about 13.5%, fraud, corruption, and this perhaps corroborates some of the concerns of some, especially the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, who say that this pardon is a dangerous contradiction to the government's professed war against drug abuse. How concerning is this for you?
I'm a bit worried for the country, considering the damage that drug-related activities has done to our youth, especially in northern Nigeria. If you look at the rate of drug abuse and the effect on our youth and the society at large, you will not be considering presidential pardon for drug-related offenses. The lot of illicit funds that we have in this country are all from drug-related transactions. And if you begin to grant presidential pardon at this point, you are sending the wrong signal, directly or indirectly saying that these offenses can go scot-free, and that will not be good for the society. So I believe that to have the highest rates in terms of 20-something percent, going by the analysis of the ex-vice president, it is too high to grant a presidential pardon for drug-related offenses up to 20-something percent. And what are we saying? What is the national policy on drug? Where are we heading to in terms of you are not going to be encouraging the agencies like NAFDAC, the agencies like National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, who are pursuing these drug-related offenses seriously. How can that be an encouragement to them if they get a conviction and in less than 5, 6, 7 years, the person is set free? So it's not a good direction for the country. But again, as I said, the president has the power to do what he has done. And again, what is the report from the correctional services to say the person has been of good conduct, or what are the yardsticks for determining this pardon? We need to know, the society needs to know, Nigerians need to know the yardstick for determining this pardon and how we set the record straight from here. But it's a good lesson for all Nigerians to see, and that is why it's a free country. We can criticize and people can make comments for the government to also learn from it. Next year, there may be another presidential pardon, and there may not be need to review we need to review what the government has done so far in terms of encouraging policy of the government.
The suspicion for some Nigerians is that this perhaps is politically motivated. 2027 is just around the corner here, and there are those who believe that perhaps Mr. President is a strategist, and perhaps they see him and those around him as perhaps trying to strategize ahead of 2027. I wonder if you agree with those who think that this perhaps is a political motivation ahead of 2027.
Well, in Nigeria for now, everything is more politically motivated. I'm not going to say the analysis of those who suspect that is the way the government is going is wrong. Until we get to 2029, where we see this pardon or the people that are giving this clean slate, if they are not contesting, we'll be able to now draw a conclusion. So for now, it is still a speculation, but if you add 1 + 1, you will know the direction where some of these pardons are going. In Nigeria, you cannot contest an election if you are an ex-convict. So if you grant the presidential pardon, you have given the person a clean slate, and that will help the person to now say, I can contest an election now because there is no impediment on my way to determine whether I was once a convict or not. So in going through the list, there are some people who are politically inclined, and you can see clearly that they have ambition to contest for 2029. As I said, I will speak as a lawyer.
I wonder if you can walk us through some of those that you refer to as politically inclined, Senior Advocate of Nigeria.
The list is there for Nigerians to see. It will not be
okay.
To be mentioning name.
Yeah.
But I can see that.
Okay. Let me allow you land on your thoughts.
No, I can see that the analysis is on point. They are all amount to speculation at this point. Very soon we know when they begin to pick form, it will be clearer.
All right.
And we can draw a valid conclusions.
Well, for those who belong to the other camp, they say that this decision should be praised because it's a gesture of national healing, especially for cases tied to colonial or military era injustices, especially referring to nationalists such as the late Herbert Macaulay. That's a name that some of us had to grow up in this part of the world, in Nigeria, to hear about and read about. So I wonder if you perhaps agree to this. Is this a gesture of national healing? Will this put to rest issues around the Ogoni 9, Ogoni 4? Do you think that there will be some sort of healing for those regions of the country?
I totally agree with that. It's a step in the right direction. It will not amount to a total national healing, but it's a step in the right direction. There cannot be a total healing in Ogoniland if the issue of environmental degradation is not totally looked into or resolved. However, for those that were wrongly convicted within that period, who were fighting for good cause, it is well deserving to be given a presidential pardon. And that is why I said from the onset that it is a commendation for some of the names that were there. And again, for those that are not deserving, Nigerians will definitely say something against it. For me, that is a step in the right direction. And I believe that with this, the people will begin to see the sincere commitment of government to resolve some of the challenges coming from that region. So the president should be commended for this. And I actually commend the president for doing the right thing for those nationalists.
Yes. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, let me, because in the case of the Ogoni 9, which we are on now, some activists in the region have rejected the pardon from the president. They insist that only a full exoneration, not mercy, would do justice to their legacy. Do you agree?
I don't totally agree with that because if you look at this presidential pardon is an end to a process. You look at when the charge was filed, the period it takes in courts for the people to be convicted, and the whole process. The president does not have power to set aside the whole process, but he has the power to grant pardon. And in granting pardon means he has given you a clean slate. It's, for me, it shows that you have never committed any offense or any crime in the first place. You are as good as being born again, and your old sins are forgiven. So if your sins are forgiven, you are not going to be nobody's going to look at your past record. So it is good that the president can exercise this right to grant pardon. However, the president does not have the power to set aside the entire process that led to the conviction. So that would be asking too much from Mr. President to do the undoable. That the president can do is what he has done, and he has done the right thing.
Let's begin to perhaps wind down on our conversation with you, Principal Law Links legal practitioner and senior advocate of Nigeria. Because I'm just wondering, for someone like you and your colleagues who go through a lot to prosecute, I'm just wondering perhaps when you go through all of that and then in the end you now receive a presidential pardon for someone whom you have been prosecuting for some time, give us an idea what it means for you lawyers to represent someone in court or pursue a particular case in court with plenty of adjournments, and then, of course, in the end, you get some sort of justice. And then, if that case eventually receives a presidential pardon, I wonder how you would feel.
Frankly speaking, without being political about it, it depends on the side of the divide that you find yourself. Lawyers actually pursue presidential pardon for their clients. Lawyers do that. And when you do that and you get a presidential pardon, you will be happy that you have been able to render some sort of legal services to that client. But again, on the other side of the divide, you will feel bad that after putting so much effort, so much time, so much industry to the case, you get to get presidential pardon in no time. You will feel very, very, especially for the prosecuting team, the EFCC, all the agencies that have prosecuting team, they will feel very, very bad. However, as I said, it's an end to a process. And if that process is not reviewed, except we are saying there should not be presidential pardon again from the president if the constitutional duty, and in carrying that constitutional duty, it ought to be guided with fairness, justice, and
So I'm wondering now, I mean, your network is beginning to freeze, but I'm wondering, before we let you go, are you one of those lawyers who have also pursued presidential pardons? Okay, let me go over my question again. We lost signals with you for a few seconds. Senior Advocate of Nigeria. I was asking if, I mean, thank you for the revelation that some of you lawyers actually pursue presidential pardon. So I wonder if you're one of those who have, in the past, pursued a presidential pardon for your clients.
Well, I've not done that in my practice, but I'm aware for sure that some of these applications are originated from the lawyer's office and to the Attorney General's office for consideration and all that. But again, it's something that is allowed. Once you have finished exhausting all legal grounds for appeal and all that, it is allowed to pursue a presidential pardon. But the decision is that of the executive. It is not that of the lawyer. The lawyer can initiate, but the executive will determine whether they want to grant the pardon or not.
Well, it's a fine place to anchor a conversation with you this hour. Senior Advocate of Nigeria and Principal Law Links Legal Practitioner who has joined us here from the Maryland area in Lagos, Mr. Augustine Enenche. I would thank you indeed. And again, congratulations on your conferment.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Nigerians.
All right. Well, the big question or not is whether this particular decision will weaken Nigeria's justice system, as many are speculating. Perhaps the presidency will as well get to explain the reasons behind these presidential pardons, especially with the numbers that Nigerians are beginning to see. Now, some say that there are about 41 illegal minors on that list. There are 28 drug traffickers and then 22 murderers. And then when you take a look at this particular data here at Status Sense, there, it gives you perhaps an idea of the percentage of those on the presidential pardon by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, 29.9% 7% or thereabouts for drugs-related offenses and all of that. Perhaps in the coming weeks and months, perhaps the presidency will explain this particular decision. 175 beneficiaries of Mr. President's pardon. But just before we go, in Benue State, Governor Hyacinth Alia is urging politicians in the state to support his government in delivering good governance for the over 7 million residents in the state rather than clamoring for the 2027 general elections. He disclosed this when he inaugurated the Special Advisor on SME and Microfinance Banking along with the governing councils of the Benue State Pension Board, the Benue Investment and Property Company, Benue State University Teaching Hospital, and the Benue State Procurement Agency. Well, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, that's Nigeria's apex bank, Olayemi Cardoso, will lead Nigeria's delegation to the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF, annual meetings scheduled to open in Washington, D.C. today, October 13. According to a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, Mr. Cardoso will lead the delegation in place of Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Waledu, who we understand is currently indisposed. The Nigerian delegation will also include the Minister of State for Finance, Doris Ozuka Anite. The World Bank has announced that key highlights of the annual meetings will include the Development Committee plenary session on October 16, and the International Monetary and Financial Committee meeting on October 17. Other scheduled events will feature regional briefings, press conferences and forums centered on international development, the global economy, and financial markets. All right, all eyes are right there in Washington, D.C., where we understand Mr. Cardoso and the Nigerian delegation have already landed right there. We'll bring you up to speed with developments right there at that particular all-hybrid and important meeting as it concerns Nigeria and perhaps the continent as well. Well, that does it for us here on the program, everyone. Thank you indeed for watching. On behalf of the production team and everyone here, I am Kelly Egiga, and you have been served on Lunchtime Politics.